In today's video, we will see a story where greed and lies can change a person who is devoted, caring, and loving. Today we embark on the tale of Oiwa, a woman betrayed by her husband because of money and power. Welcome to the Onryo Horror Channel, where ghosts can speak, and they have a lot to say.
There is always silence before the storm. And as it is expected in a calm, growing village such as Yotsuya, the silence was about to be broken. No natural disaster would be responsible for one of the most tragic and sad stories ever told through generations in Japan. It is amazing how sometimes the smallest thing can cause disasters in unimaginable levels. It can start by a simple gust of wind that can turn into a furious tornado that can decimate countless lives, or just a thought, a simple thought. Thinking. Most people may say that it's harmless, but wars are born from just a thought. Because from thoughts, dreams are born. From dreams, desires are born. From desires, obsessions are born. From obsessions, anger. From anger, hate. From hate, violence. From violence, aggression. And from aggression, then, finally, death. Yeamon was thinking, constantly, every day sitting under the shade of a tree, tired of the life he had, with his straw hat covering most of his face. His head was throbbing by the fact of having too much to drink the previous night. He was just waiting. First, to have the strength to get up and get himself some money so he could eat. He had spent everything he had last night. He heard footsteps coming on a nearby road. He looked up and saw a group of men walking and talking. They seemed fine, wearing fine armor. One of the hands resting on their swords. They were samurais, respected men that had their right to live and sit by the shogun's side. Yeamon analyzed every and each one of them. Yes, he could take them all out. He was faster, more skilled than them. They had everything: power, respect, money, women. What else could they want? One of the men looked at Yeamon and stopped walking. Yeamon stared back at him. The samurai then signaled to the others to keep on going. Then he walked towards Yeamon. As he got closer, he looked at the man sitting.
Do you mind?
Yeamon signaled, his head allowing the other to sit. The samurai did.
It's been a long time.
Yeamon said, looking at the distance.
Yes, it has.
You were supposed to be with us, Yeamon.
Yeamon gave a smirk of disdain.
I'm not get out to be the Shogun's lapdog.
Serving the shogun is serving your people, helping them, protecting them.
It's easy for you to say, when you have all the glory and honor because you are a samurai.
Glory and honor are not something you get from the edge of a sword. You were thrown out because honor is something you lack.
Yeamon stood up furious, so did the samurai.
What? Are you sure you want to go against me?
I can defeat you now.
No, you can't. Because you and I are different. You use your sword as a toy, only for violence, for brutality, and I will only draw mine when it's necessary for my duty, and dealing with you right now, it's not worthy for my blade to see the sunlight. If you don't change your ways, Yeamon, death will find you, one way or the other. If you keep going on this path, the only thing you'll find at the end of the road is disgrace and tragedy.
The samurai turned his back and started to walk away.
You can still live your life as a mere bandit, but if we catch you doing anything, this life will end up short.
Yeamon thought on drawing his sword, and it was very difficult for him to hold himself. He had to swallow his pride and anger. If he attacked the samurai, the others would come. Even though he thought he could beat them, he was not in a condition of fighting, and he would have problems. His head was starting to bother him. Maybe he shouldn't have drunk so much last night. Yeamon let his encounter with the samurai slide. He started walking towards the open-air market. There was so many people walking everywhere. At the distance, he could hear the voice of a young boy selling tobacco. His eyes caught the image of a beautiful Japanese woman he knew well. They grew up together. Now, she became a fine woman. Her name was Oiwa. She was the daughter of once very rich owner of a market standing Yotsuya, but now on the brink of poverty due to debt he owed. Yeamon knew the old man didn't like him. Well, he could not say that he loved him back. And actually, Yeamon thought of him as a fat old hypocrite who sold his 2 daughters to become prostitutes and still walked as though his honor was above anyone else's. He visited her whenever he could. Sometimes he came up with excuses for not seeing Oiwa, so she would not know that he couldn't pay for her time with him. So for her, he always had a journey or something. At least that was what he thought. Oiwa was not only beautiful. She had the respect of all the men of the village. No one dared to disrespect her. And she was also not stupid. She knew Yeamon didn't have the money to pay for her. But deep down in her heart, hidden for so many years, since they were children, she had feelings for him. So, in one occasion when they were together, she said to him that he could visit her whenever he wanted. She would make an exception. Fortunately enough, years ago, on her first day as a Yūjo, the first man she had ever had was Yeamon. As the other girls that worked with her, she had the same dream as them, to marry with the one she loved and finally get away from that wife. Saya and Aki were lucky enough to find men that loved them. Oiwa was still waiting for the right one. Well, she was still waiting for Yeamon. Even though some of the most powerful and rich men from Edo offered a large amount of money to marry her, she denied them. Yeamon walked towards her in the middle of the crowd. Every step of the way he thought to himself, probably there was no man in the world that was as lucky as he was. For a person like him, he wouldn't ever be allowed to get close to an Oiran. He was poor, had no social status whatsoever, but still, even though under judgmental eyes of everyone, he was allowed to be near and talk to Oiwa. Surrounded by lower ranks Yūjo and bodyguards and 2 other Kamuro girls. One was 16 and the other one was still 13. In Oiwa's eyes, they were very promising. To be in the social ranks as a samurai or even more important than them sometimes was a dream for many Yūjos that could even survive in the horrible conditions of a prostitute's life. Geishas and maikos were considered by many, if not all, playthings. And they were the basis to have the money flowing in every yukaku, the name for Japanese brothels. But the honor, the representation of a beautiful woman, the ideal woman was only the glory for an Oiran. It was rare for a simple low-rank Yujio to become an Oiran. But it happened because if the woman was considered beautiful enough since they were young, mostly at the age of 10, they started their training to become the highest-ranked Yujuo of a yukaku. As romantic enough it may seem, regardless, they were women sold as objects for men's pleasures. Oiwa was one of the lucky ones, sewed by her father together with her sister Osode, that was as beautiful as she was, but younger. The level of respect that Oiwa had from everyone in Yotsuya was unmatched. And that was also a problem. She could not be seen with a low-life garbage such as Yeamon. The owner of the yukaku scolded her many times and even forbade their encounter, which of course Oiwa didn't obey. She knew she was too important for the yukaku to prosper. She knew that what happened to the other girls couldn't happen to her. The other girls had a miserable life. Most of them died before becoming 30 years old, which also was considered too old for clients. And some of them were thrown out to live in poverty and misery. And it didn't matter her rank in society. For her, she was still a slave and marriage was her way out. And her heart was in the place and in the arms of the one that was her first. And every time they met, felt like it was the first time. As Yeamon was getting close, his arm was grabbed.
Don't you dare come close to her.
Yeamon turned to see that Oiwa's father was furious holding him. Yeamon looked at him emotionless and said in a quiet and menacing voice,
If you want to keep your arm, old man, you better let go.
I would love to see you try here in front of everybody and have your head being cut from your body from the real samurai.
I am a samurai.
Yeamon yelled.
The only thing you are, Yeamon, is a miserable excuse for a man, and I will never accept my honorable daughter to be married into a lowlife such as you.
Talks about honor coming from a man that sold his 2 daughters to a whorehouse so he could pay his debts. Tell me, old man, how is it honorable to be maintained by a prostitute, and that prostitute being your own flesh and blood?
Someone pushed Yeamon and he fell on the ground, and that was enough to have everybody that was passing by to stop and watch.
You disgraceful dog! You never talk to me again, and if I hear that you came close to my daughter again, I swear I will have your head on a plate.
Someone turned his back and walked away. No words could describe how Yeamon was feeling, but his eyes burned in an unimaginable hatred towards the old man. In his head, with all his heart and soul, he swore that the old Saman would die by his blade. Yeamon looked around, and all the eyes were on him. Even worse, some samurai were also staring at him. He felt disgraced, humiliated on the ground. Suddenly, a hand was extended to him.
Well, I see the conversation with the old man went not as intended.
Yeamon took the hand of a scrawny Japanese man by the name of Naosuke that had a smile on his face and stood up again.
He will pay.
Yeamon whispered to himself, but Naosuke heard.
Now, my friend, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Anger is never a good tool for solving problems.
The only tool I need is my sword.
All bronze and no brains. That's the recipe for failure. Now let's go. I'll pay you a meal. It looks like you need it. And a bath.
Later, inside the yukaku, alone seating in her room, Oiwa was silently crying. She had in her hands something that she held most precious. It was a wooden comb adorned with red flowers. It belonged to her mother. She died many years ago due to a violent disease. Her father, always drunk and absent from home, never took care of her. It was her and Osode who saw the last dying breath of her, as she then stopped, and her body started to turn cold and gray. She could hear, faint across the thin paper walls, some other girls coughing, or another one crying in pain. This was the life they had. 2 days before, she saw 3 girls die from some sexual disease. Madoka, one of her friends, was still recovering from having to take out an undesired pregnancy by being submerged in freezing cold water. Reiko, another geisha, was found dead in an alley. Her body was severely bruised as she was beaten to death. That was what were in store for them as objects. Oiwa feared for Osode because, unlike of what people believed, to be a geisha or a maiko was far more than the entertainers in tea houses. It was all about the money. If a man had enough gold or silver pieces, sex, it didn't matter, was always an option. An option that in truth was never the girls. After they found the body of Reiko, Oiwa knew that also there being a geisha was not as safe as she was hoping. Different from her, a respectful Oiran, and if she was in Kyoto, she would be a level even higher. She would become a Taiyu, having the prestige and power that most men didn't have. She could give a better life to her sister, but that was not in her hands. The only one that still could escape from that was her sister, as she was betrothed to Yomushi, a nice young man that was bound to leave for 1 year to have his samurai duties for the Tokugawa. Meanwhile, she would protect her sister's integrity as long as she could. Anything was better to have that kind of life. Anything. There was a knocking on the door, making Oiwa be brought back to reality.
Oiwa-sama, there is a new client that wants to see you.
Get the girls so I can get ready.
Yes, Oiwa-sama.
And the young boy left. Now, relaxed and fed, Yeamon was feeling much better, and smelled much better too. Far from the market, resting by a tree, there they were. Naosuke was looking at the distance.
So, tell me, Tamiya-san, why not get back at being a samurai?
Yeamon looked at him in disapproval.
Because I am nobody's dog.
Naosuke nodded.
I see. But it certainly doesn't apply when it's about Oiwa, I guess.
Suddenly and violently, Yeamon grabbed Naosuke by the throat.
You watch your tongue, you rat!
Hey, calm down, huh? I'm just saying, for a woman like her, who wouldn't be?
Yeamon punches Naosuke to the ground and then draw his sword.
One more word and I will put every limb of yours throughout the entire country.
Naosuke stands up, cleaning the blood of his mouth.
You sure are very strong, but not a very good listener now, are you?
Naosuke, without showing any kind of fear, comes close to Yeamon and says,
You need me.
The demons take me when come a day I will need you for anything.
Oh, but you see, Yeamon, you do. I can help you get something you want. Tell me, Yeamon, aren't you tired?
Naosuke started to circle around to mirror Yeamon with a tiny smile in the corner of his mouth.
Tired of always just watching and for brief, very brief moments touching, but never ever having. It is bad enough you don't have the respect nor the money or prestige of a samurai, But to be denied the love of the woman you want? Oh, that must be so painful. Painful enough to drive any ordinary man to madness. But you, oh you, Yeamon-sama, you are far stronger than anyone I know, but...
Naosuke stopped with his sparkling frog-like eyes to stare deep into Yeamon's.
You are not unbeatable. Unfortunately, even for the most incredible man, let's say, the most remarkable generals need help from his men. And let's be honest, you are not very good at solving problems. I mean, you still don't have your Oiwa, and her father is still a bargain. And maybe, if you knew what I know, then you have a better motivation to get things done. But what am I talking about? If you really wanted to do something about it, you'd have already.
Naosuke's face turned sad and disappointed and turned his back on Yeamon and gave a few steps away.
No, well, maybe that's for the best. I mean, you know what you are doing. Even if this means ignoring Oiwa's feelings towards you.
Stop. What are you talking about? What feelings?
Back turned to Yeamon. Naosuke gave a mischievous smile. Then his face turned sad and disappointed again and faced the Ronin once more.
Maybe that's because she's a whore and she's not supposed to have any of those. But I heard, coming from her mouth, that she nurtured feelings towards you, Yeamon-sama. And I can only imagine how disappointing it must be for her to be in love and not to be able to be with who she wants. Instead, to give her delicate and soft body to an old man only because he has more money than you. I mean, of course she can deny, but she still has to work, you see.
Get to the point already.
Okay. So you want Oiwa, right? But her father is a problem. And even though he is in the brink of bankruptcy, he is still very influential. And as every person who has certain level of status, he has enemies. You being one of them. But you can't do anything without having some sort of problem. Have you ever heard of the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Well, I know for a fact that the old Dr. Ito had a very heated argument with threats and everything. What if, now hear me out because this is very important, what if the old Yotsuya Saban survived an assassination attempt? And then, for his surprise, the man the old Saban also despised came and saved him? Woohoo! How grateful he would be and now owing you his life and thus granting every wish you, Yeamon-sama, has.
Yeamon didn't show, but deep inside, his heart was racing. What if that ridiculous little man had the perfect solution for him to finally be with Oiwa? It could work, and then he would have the old fat bastard in the palm of his hands, and the beautiful wife only for him. That was brilliant, but dangerous. Immediately he thought that the old man would spread the word that Dr. Ito was the one who ordered the assassination. And then, what if they discovered it was a lie? Yeamon asked this question for the frog-like-eyed man.
Then the problem is not yours. If you kill Samon's killer, it will be only Oiwa's father's words. And if they both end up killing one another after you have your Oiwa with you, well, what can you do, right?
Yeamon listened to what Naosuke had to say, and another question popped up in his head.
And what do you get from all this?
Naosuke's face turned serious, evil even, and the smile with his crooked teeth adorned his mouth appeared.
For now, nothing. But there will come a time where I'll need you to return the favor. So, what do you say, Yeamon-sama? Do we have a deal?
A cold breeze made Yeamon feel uneasy and he shivered. His desire grew even more. To have the touch, the kiss, the soft and delicate body of Oiwa, only for him to have whenever he pleased. It seemed like just a simple thought. But then again, wars are born from a thought. Night came, and Oiwa was combing her hair, and her servant, Kohere, was standing to her clothes. Still admiring herself in the mirror, she saw the image of the young servant in the reflection. She liked him. He was always gentle and kind. Everything she asked of him, he would do. She thought that whatever woman that would be in the relationship with him would be very happy. And come to think of it, Oiwa never saw him talking or even befriending any of the girls. She turned to him and asked,
Say, Kohe, have you ever thought of having a girlfriend or getting married?
That question caught him by surprise, and he stopped what he was doing and looked at her, unable to have a reaction with his eyes wide open. Oiwa laughed gently.
What?
Nothing. It's just an odd
Question? Why? You are young, handsome, gentle. You know, you would be a fine Kagema.
Oiwa then stood up and walked slowly towards Kohei with a seductive expression on her face.
If I were to be a client, I
She pushed Kohei against the wall.
most definitely pay for you.
Kohei's face turned pale and he started to shake.
Oiwa-sama.
Oiwa started laughing.
Oh, Koe, you are so silly.
She walked back to the mirror.
But seriously, no girlfriends? No one?
Kohei, recovering a little by almost having a heart attack, got back to tending to Oiwa's clothes while answering her.
I don't think that's allowed for me as a slave.
Oiwa's face turned serious and a little bit sad.
We all are. But you know what? I never give up hope. One day, for me, this life will be just a memory in the past. Imagine, Kohei, you find the woman you love, and then you two run away to live lives together forever, having your own house, having an honest work as a farmer or a merchant, or even, if you want, a soldier or even an honorable samurai.
Oiwa turned to him again.
They take young men too for training, you know.
Kohei smiled.
Well, it is a thought. I mean, I don't know. I just think I never found the girl that interested me, I guess.
Oiwa looked at him puzzled.
Not even me here? With a lot of pretty girls that would love to run away with a husband, and from all this? It is the same thing you say you were poor in a river of gold. And if Osade wasn't betrothed to Yomoshi-san, I would certainly throw you two into each other's arm.
Kohei laughed.
And what about you, Oiwa-sama? You can get out of here anytime you want. All the most powerful men in the land would fight the entire empire to have you as a wife.
She turned back to the mirror and continued to comb her hair.
That's true. But just like you, my heart didn't find a place in any of them.
Suddenly, the door to her room opens and Osode appears desperate.
Oiwa, please come. It's father. He was attacked.
Oiwa stands up, worried to the news she's just received.
What?
Moments later, in the house of Yotsuya Samon, Oiwa, Osode, and Kohei were together sitting in the room with Samon, Yeamon, and Naosuke. Seeing Oiwa enter the room, both Yeamon and Naosuke, on their knees, bowed to put their faces on the floor. Samon was walking back and forth furiously, cursing and yelling.
Father, what happened?
That bastard tried to kill me, sent one of his goons to assassinate me. I can't believe it. It was all a trap. If it wasn't for Yeamon saving me, I would be dead.
Samon rushed to be on his knees and bow to Yeamon, that also bowed back.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, my boy. You have my eternal gratitude. If it wasn't for you...
Naski coughed.
Oh, and of course, you too, Nask-san, for warning me.
Oiwa came and kneeled next to her father and put her hand on his shoulder, trying to calm him.
Father, calm down. The worst has passed. Now tell me, what happened? Who tried to kill you?
That damned Ito.
The doctor? Dr. Ito?
Yes. First came Naoski warned me that he had some men hired to kidnap and kill you and Osode, so I went with him to confront Ito. But in the middle of the way, two brutes appeared. If it wasn't for Yeamon, I would be...
It was luck. I was passing by and then I saw you were in trouble. It was the right thing to do.
With his amazing talent and skill with a sword, he killed both bastards.
Oiwa looked at Yeamon, that when his eyes met hers, he bowed once more, facing the floor. She took his hand and stood him up gently. She had the most beautiful smile towards him, and her eyes were shining.
Thank you, Tamiya-san. I'm in debt to you.
No, you are not.
Yes, we all are. What you did for me, my boy, was wonderful. And you shouldn't have, because of the way I always treated you. Your humbleness far surpassed anyone else's. I, for one, would never have saved someone who always treated me poorly.
Someone dropped to his knees and bowed one more time.
Please, Yeamon-san, forgive me. You showed us all the true meaning of honor.
Yeamon got in one knee and stood Samon up.
Don't ever bow to me again. I am not worth it. I may not have the ranks, Samon-san, but deep in my heart lies the soul of a samurai. And that's why I helped you. Protecting people when they are in need has to come in first place. My sword is not a toy. I will not draw it unless it is necessary.
Now standing with both hands on the shoulder of Yeamon, Samon smiled.
Great words, worth of a true, honorable samurai.
Yeamon-san, please, make yourself comfortable. I need to have a word with my father, please.
Far from everybody, walking in the gardens of the house, Oiwa's face was serious and she was silent for a while. Samon didn't look at her. She finally said,
What did you do?
What? What do you mean, what did you do?
Dr. Ito is a very respectful man. If he had ever had a reason to send someone after me or my sister and then try to kill you, something must be very wrong.
No, daughter. You don't understand. He never sent anyone after you or Osode. It was a way to trick me to fall into his trap and kill me.
And why would he want to do that? There's got to be a reason for that.
I don't know.
Don't you lie to me, Father. We know pretty well what kind of men you are.
How dare...
Shut up! Shut up! Now you will listen to me. I am so sick and tired of having to clean up after you. You are a dirty little despicable man. Only Osode is blind enough not to see that selling her to make her a whore, such as you did to me, it is something that you are proud of. I had to be in bed with the most disgusting and horrible man because of you.
Stop. Stop it. I don't want to hear it.
Stinking like animals, sweaty, pinning me to the ground and taking advantage of me, forcing themselves inside me and squealing like a pig. Oh, Father, then as old as you are, having fun with my body while you were in the comfort of your house.
Stop!
That's what I screamed when they entered me over and over again, crying because you've put me in this life. You are always so disgraceful. Mom died because of you.
Samon slaps Oiwa in the face and then she starts laughing.
If easy for you, isn't it? Hit me. Hit me again and try to stand in the false pride you carry with you.
She walks to be face to face with her father.
Like I said, Dr. Ito is a very honorable man. If he has a reason to kill you, I cannot blame him. I don't know what you did, but you gave him a reason to do it. Now you listen to me. I will hire Yeamon to be your bodyguard and you will treat him well, like you would treat a son. Because for daughters, we know well what you do with them. But if you get in trouble one more time, I personally will ask Yeamon to let you die. Understand?
She leaves him alone in the garden and goes back in the house. Hours later, after talking to Yeamon and explaining to him that he should work for her father, Oiwa was showing him where he would stay in the house. Them both, now alone in the room. Oiwa felt her heart pounding. She sat on the tatami with him.
I hope everything is at your liking.
Well, it is better than to sleep out in the wild.
Oiwa smiled.
Thank you for saving my father's life.
There was a moment of silence. Yeamon looked down for a brief moment and then back to Oiwa.
I lied.
What?
I lied. I didn't save your father because of him. It was because of you. I knew that if something happened to him, it would bring you sadness.
Oiwa remained silent, only staring at him. Without saying a word, slowly and gently, Oiwa undressed and crawled near Yeamon. Still, not a word was said. She kissed him and then, once again, they belonged to each other until morning. Every delicate touch, kiss, caress was growing in intensity, as they both knew they were made for each other. Their bodies connected in passion as she felt his hand slide on her smooth and soft skin. Oiwa was his. She knew that, and as every time they were together, she wanted to show how he owned her. Later in the morning, walking together in the calmer part of the streets of Yotsuya, there were Osure and Yomoshi together talking.
So, it was very lucky for your father to have Yeamon passing by at the moment.
Indeed.
You know, I like Yeamon. He would be a fine samurai. Maybe one of the best among us if it wasn't for his ill temper.
He's very brave, fearless. It seems nothing can scare him.
Oh, is that so? And what about me? Don't you find me fearless and brave?
Osure smiled to him and hugged him.
You, my love, are the bravest of all the men in all the land.
Oh, okay. That's much better.
Yomoshi looks deep into Osure's eyes.
Promise me that you will wait.
More? My heart and soul have been waiting for you my whole life.
Yomoshi kisses Osure.
And besides, I have Oiwa to protect me.
When I get back, we will get married and leave here to have a quiet life. I can't wait to have you by my side with 5 children.
5?
No?
3. I think it'll be good enough.
Okay, 3 it is.
Osure rests her head in Yomoshi's chest and her face becomes sad.
My heart aches to think we are going to be far from each other for so long.
So does mine. But I'll do it. Because I want to give you the best life. You are going to be the wife of a respectful samurai. I will be able to give you a nice home and beautiful presents.
Osure looks at Yomoshi and then grabs him by his hand and pulls him to run with her.
Hey, where are you going?
Osure brings Yomoshi to a nearby woods. Far from everyone's eyes, only the blue sky and the birds being the witness of her undressing herself and giving her body for the first time ever to the man she loves. Hours later, after saying goodbye to Osure, Yomoshi was walking in the street. He had to prepare for his departure. His heart was still racing from what had happened. In his mind, heart, and soul, he promised that no matter what happened, he would make Osode happy for the rest of their lives.
Well, if it isn't the oh-so-mighty samurai Yomoshi-sama.
This was enough to change inside Yomoshi. That voice, that hideous voice, only matching by an even more hideous face, an atrocious being. Yomoshi looked at Naosuke and fiercely walked towards him and grabbed him by the neck and dragged him to an alley.
I thought I told you to leave, Yotsuya.
You're joking me.
Yes, I am. Now answer me.
Can't breathe.
Yomoshi throws Naosuke to the ground and put his hands on his sword ready to draw. His will to do that was growing even stronger. Just by looking to Naosuke's face made Yomoshi be even more disgusted. Naosuke slowly stood up with one hand on his neck. Yomoshi grabbed him by the kimono.
Yes, you did. Indeed.
Naosuke gave a hideous smile.
But you see, I cannot leave. This is my home. I was born here. I grew up here. Where do you expect me to go?
I don't care. I should have killed you the first chance I had.
Wait, let's not lose our temper too.
Yomoshi hits Naosuke's head to the wall and he grunts in pain.
You listen to me, you disgraceful piece of shit. If I see you're here that you try to get near, even breathe close to Osode, I will feed your eyes to the pigs. Understand?
Frightened in pain, Naosuke nodded. Yomoshi looked at him disgusted and said,
Your mother should have killed you when you were born. Better than to let a deformity roam around free.
Yomoshi turned his back to Naosuke that looks at him furious and burning in anger.
It is a matter of money, you know. Just need to have enough to have Osode. Everyone knows that.
What looked to have happened in the blink of an eye, Yomoshi turned to Naosuke again, and with one amazing and fast movement, cut one of Naosuke's hand off. Naosuke howled in pain. He stumbled and fell sitting on the ground, and then Yomoshi's blade pierced through his thigh. That made him scream even more. Yomoshi slowly started to twist his blade in the flesh of Naosuke's thigh.
Never mention her name again.
Yomoshi pulled his sword and left. Naosuke with extreme difficulty tried to get up. Blood was flowing out of his handless arm. He grabbed the cut-off hand from the ground and ran. A year has passed, and life seemed to go on. No one heard of Naosuke. Well, nobody actually missed him enough to even notice he wasn't around. Yeamon kept working as a bodyguard for Yotsuya-sama. He got himself a roof and some decent money, and with that, a little bit more status. For many occasions, Yeamon could show his skills as an extremely talented swordsman. He started to be more respected and actually admired around town. With that, he could see and be with Oiwa as much as he wanted, because now there were no more judgmental eyes on him. Still, Oiwa was an Oiran, and she had her duties as such. For many times he had to watch as she passed him the Oiran Dochu. Oh, the lustful eyes of men that were on her. And the meetings she had with powerful men also made him jealous. She could not simply stop getting clients because of Yeamon. It was her job. And also, Yotsuya wasn't recognized by its yukuku. The most important one was in Yoshiwara in Edo, where he heard Oiwa had countless invitations to work there. He could not wrap his mind around of losing Oiwa and she leaving for another district. He had to do something fast. He had to marry her. That was the only thing that went on his mind. He would get Oiwa out of that life and they would live together forever. Yeamon thought that the old man's salmon was prospering in his business, so probably there was a possibility there. Everything was looking up. The only thing he lacked was the official status of a samurai. He was still a ronin, a mercenary, a thug even, and that was always a spear in the heart of his pride. Many times he thought that he should follow the Bushido code and go through with the seppuku. But that would be ridiculous, as for many years he lived that life. If he had any intention of following the Bushido code, he would have killed himself as soon as he lost his ranks. For him, it didn't matter the admiration of others, but how he felt about himself. It looked like for him, everything seemed so close and yet eternally distant to achieve. But one thing he was optimistic. Since he worked for Salmon, he could ask his daughter's hand in marriage. Salmon owed him now. Owed him his life. Many, many times. To be part of the family would change everything. And one day, when the old man was dead, him and Oiwa would inherit everything. Well, some of it would go to Osore, but he wasn't worried about that. That was the first step. He smiled as he got ready for another day's work. Someone had some clients to visit and he would accompany him. That day would be perfect for him to ask for Oiwa's hand. Oiwa was sitting in her room eating something while having a conversation with Osore. It was a slow day for the yutuku. Not many customers, which was good. Not for Oiwa, because for her it didn't make a difference since she didn't take normal people anymore. Last night she had a meeting with a very rich and powerful nobleman from Edo. The trip was long and tiresome, so she planned on doing absolutely nothing, unless Yeamon showed up. But for her and her servants, they could rest. For the other girls, however, having a slow day was also a good and a bad thing. It meant little money, but more time to take care of themselves.
Really? Ito Kihei? Dr. Ito-san? My God, Oiwa, I thought he was married.
He is?
Osore's eyes grew wider.
Why the surprise? She came here to meet me both times, don't you remember? And last time was the third.
What about his wife?
I met her.
You? What?
It was a request, actually.
What?
Oiwa stands up and looks out the window.
She's dying and she cannot continue with her duties as a wife anymore. She's too weak. Before I met Dr. Ito's son for the first time, she came here and asked me herself. She was, well, still is very beautiful. I wonder if she was even more beautiful when she was healthy. She asked me at least to consider having him visit for the first time.
Why would she do that?
I asked myself the same question, but then I grew to respect her even more. I could never, ever do what she did. She knows she's not going to stay here longer and she wants to make her husband happy and satisfied, even if that means to hand him off to the arms of another. Would you, Osote? Knowing you were going to die, give your husband up to the possibility to place his heart and body into another woman's embrace?
I don't think I could.
I would never, even if I'm dying. Let Yeamon marry another woman. I want to be his only and must love.
Yeamon?
What?
You said Yeamon's name.
No, I said husband. I would never let my husband.
Osore stands up and slowly walks towards Oiwa.
Sister, do you have feelings for Yeamon?
Oiwa blushed and smiled, still looking out the window.
Don't be absurd.
Oiwa, don't lie to me. I always know when you're lying. Do you love Yeamon? Is that it?
No, of course not.
You're lying. don't make me use harsh ways to get you to talk.
Oiwa turned to Osode worried.
Please, don't.
Oh, yes. You know, I'm going to call him.
Please, sister, don't.
Yes, the most terrible yokai ever, the terrifying Tekowabake.
Oiwa screamed laughing and starts to run around her room trying to escape Osode. The door to her room opens to reveal Takuetsu, the owner of the brothel. Oiwa, still laughing, being tickled by her sister, asks Takuetsu to save her.
Stop right there, Takuetsu-san. She is mine.
Takuetsu drops on his knees and bow.
Oh, please, I beg of you, spare Oiwa. If you devour her, my business will be doomed.
Hey!
Osode stops and gets up, still laughing.
Hello, Takuetsu-san.
Hello, my dear. Sorry to interrupt you two. I just needed to talk to Oiwa a little.
Oh, I'll be leaving then.
Well, you don't need to. No. It is nothing bad and not a secret. Well, even if it was, I bet she would tell you anyway.
Oiwa nodded affirmatively.
How may I help you, Takuetsu-san?
Well,
He closes the door behind him.
it is actually good you hear this too, Osura-chan. It might interest you.
All of them sit facing each other.
So, Oiwa-san, I'm starting to get worried. I mean, don't get me wrong, and please, don't tell to any of the other girls, but you are my favorite.
I know well why.
Well, yes, for the money you make us, that's for sure, but not only that. You became more than a worker here. You were like a friend. But still, I'm a business owner, and we sort of have a feeling of how things are going to turn out in the future. And I fear you are going to be leaving us sooner than I expect. I sense that a Miyuki for you is coming, which is good. I mean, for us, because it is good money, and for you, and the debt being paid and all that.
You sense a Miyuki, or you have heard a rumor of it?
I've heard there is a patron willing to buy you for him. Since I am very superstitious, I don't want to go into details. But the point is, I'll be losing you, and I need another Oiran. But still, we have no one to put in your place. I mean, none of the girls, at least in my eyes, captivate the clients or are as beautiful as you are. There is actually only one that can come close, which is you, Osore-chan.
Osode was caught by surprise.
Me being a Noiran?
Yes, I mean, your sister would have to train you, and that takes time, and time is something that we don't have much.
Takuetsu-san, Osori is betrothed to a man. She cannot become a Noiran.
I know, but you see, Oiwa-san, your debt will be paid. Hers won't.
Osode's face became sad and Oiwa's expression turned serious.
I can simply deny this patron and refuse the offer to marry him.
Osode gently holds Oiwa's arm.
Sister, no. Think about your freedom.
I won't let you have the same fate in here as I have.
Oiwa-san, she won't. I mean, not like the other girls. Since we've had her as a Maiko, she never had to provide any services that weren't for her. Now that her training is done and she's a geisha, she will have only services of a geisha. Mostly because of you, Oiwa, because you've asked us. And you know that here, any geisha or Maiko that want to earn extra money are allowed to get intimate with clients. But the money she makes now is not even close to be enough.
You don't even know if the rumors are true, Takuetsu-san.
Okay, it's not a rumor. It is true.
Who is it?
Please, you have to promise me that you will keep his name a secret.
I promise.
Itokihe wants to buy you.
Osode and Oiwa looked at each other.
Please, Oiwa, not a word about this. The man is married, and he has a sick wife, but he told me that as soon as she dies, he will come for you.
Oiwa once again looked at Osode and then to Takuetsu. She didn't say a word. Many things went through her head. Of course, the most important one was the fact that she would be free. Well, in a sense. It seemed she was getting out of one prison to enter another. But she only felt this way because the man was not Yeamon. And at what cost? Would she really train Osore to become her? Because even though she could choose, Osore had only had one man, and it was her fiancé. One thing is for you to give yourself to someone you love, you know, that you are intimate with, knows your secrets, shares with you. And another is to give yourself to a person that you don't know at all. And even worse, pretend to like him or like it so he could spend more money. Osore was too sweet for that. She reminded how Oiwa used to be, innocent and sweet. But since being part of that life, she grew so used to hiding it that sometimes she felt that that part of her had died. But no, it didn't. Every time she was with Yeamon, she felt like she could be that kind of woman again. And she would, if she was married to him. And of course, if she got married to Dr. Ito's son, maybe that would be the end of her romance with Yeamon forever. Her heart ached to think about that possibility. Not having his strong hands touching her, his strong grip on her waist. Did that have to be the price of her freedom? The part of the respect, power, and honor made very too little difference for her, as she already had all that. But the stigma was always with her. She was a courtesan, a whore, for the common language. She thought that for any other girl in the Yukaku, that would be the best news to receive. A lot of them died without even dreaming about having this chance. And Oiwa felt bad for it too. Was she being disrespectful to the memory and honor of all the other girls she spent a big part of her life together? Seeing their suffering, their lives? How many other Yujo would die or kill to be in her position? All of them. That was for sure. And all the other thousands in Yoshiwara. Oiwa heard that the Oirans there were extremely beautiful. That maybe was the real true reason why she would consider accepting the offer of marrying Kihei. Because of the girls that couldn't make it. That night, Oiwa didn't see Yeamon, and she didn't sleep well. While Oiwa was sleeping, Osore went out of her bedroom. The brothel was full. Music and laughter filled the place. Passing by customers and the other girls that worked there, she got to Takuetsu's room. She opened his door.
I'm sorry, Takuetsu-san. May I have a word with you?
Of course, my girl. Is there something wrong?
No, sir, no problems at all. I just needed to talk to you about something.
Yes, come in, come in.
Osore closed the door behind her and sat in front of Takuetsu on the tatami. She was silent for a moment, and then took a deep breath and said,
I want to start taking clients.
Oh.
The next day, back at the house of Yotsuya-sama, both men were drinking sake together. Oiwa's father grew to trust Yeamon. He was very efficient and obedient, very different from what he expected from a wanderer. For Yeamon, it was only because of the job. He never voiced or showed, but he simply never forgot about that day in the market. His face on the ground, humiliated by the fat old bastard. Of course, no, he would treat him with respect and gratitude, but his honor was still stained, and he would only be cleansed when Samon died. But first, he had to make sure he was entitled for heritage. The old man was always very private with his finances, so Yeamon didn't know anything about it. But he assumed it was a lot. It was his chance. He had to take it.
Samon-dono, I wanted to talk to you about something.
If it is a raise you want, you can forget about it, my boy.
Oh, No, nothing like that. It is about Oiwa. I want to marry her, and so I come here, humble, to ask for your permission to do so.
Yeamon bowed. Someone put his cup on a tray and sighed.
I like you, Yeamon. You've shown yourself as a man of worth and honor. I could not deny that. But this is a request I cannot comply.
This answer felt like a sword going through Yeamon's body and pride.
See, Yeamon, Oiwa, even though a prostitute, she has the same level of respect of a samurai, of a nobleman. And it is very important for our family to keep the lineage in high standards. You, Yeamon, being an honorable man you are, do not have the social status she deserves.
Yeamon looks at Samon.
But Samon dono, I promise to you that...
Tell me, Yeamon, after I die, how do you intend to provide for her? How will you make an income? Because when I'm gone, you will no longer have a payment. What are you going to do? Errands? Small jobs, or spend the rest of your life waiting for an opportunity? Don't you see, Yeamon? Your future is surrounded by uncertainties. And besides, she already has someone I agreed upon taking her. This man will pay her miyuke.
Yeamon's blood was boiling. One strike after the other. Again, he felt humiliated. Thrown once again in the mud by the same man. Every second he listened to Oiwa's father, he felt even less like a man. He was no samurai, not worth of anyone's respect or praise. And now, no woman's love either. He felt like he was nothing but a pile of trash.
I'm sorry, Yeamon, but Oiwa is talking to him at this exact moment as we speak. But don't worry too much. He will not marry Oiwa right away. His wife is dying, as for what I've heard. So you can still have your fun with my daughter. Because I know you've been meeting her. But once she gets married, well, you better find someone else. Now let's go. We have some work to do, my boy.
It was difficult for Yeamon to move. His anger was almost unbearable. But he stood up and said,
Yes. Samon domo.
Far from Yotsuya, Oiwa was getting dressed in one of the rooms of the enormous house of Kihei Ito. He still laid down, looked at her with a smile and said,
You are really beautiful.
Oiwa gently smiled politely and then asked,
How's your wife?
Getting worse every day. Now it is getting even more difficult for her to walk. But I don't want to talk about her. I want to talk about us. I want you, Oiwa. As soon as we are done here, I will go to Takwit's to buy you, and then we can be together.
While your wife is still alive?
She won't be for much longer.
But still, respect is something that is expected from the one you are married. And I think your wife deserves that much from you. At least until she passes.
Kihei blushed and looks down.
Your words cut as the sharpest blade.
I will not marry you, Ito Kihei. And I only accepted your visits because of your wife's request. But this is as far as I'll go with you. And this here shall be our last meeting.
Kihei stands up furious.
This is outrageous. I paid for you.
And the service was provided. Shall I see you near me again? I will arrange for you to be thoroughly disciplined.
Is this a threat, whore?
Oiwa walked slowly and got face to face with Kihei.
I don't do threats. I'm warning you.
She looks at the door and says,
Koe, grab the rest of my things. I'm leaving.
Kohei slides the door open.
Yes, Oiwa-sama.
Moments later, alone in his room, Kihei was boiling in hatred towards Oiwa. How could she ever deny him? He was giving her a chance to be his wife, to have a better life, and she says no? In a fit of anger, he started to trash his room, throwing stuff around and yelling. Oiwa was supposed to say yes. No one ever dared to say no to Kihei. The door to his room slides open and he stops panting. The old servant looks at the scene quite scared, but she had more important news to deliver.
Ito dono. I think it's time.
Kihei looks at the servant and he looked at her as he knew what it was about. He recomposed himself and followed the servant to the bedroom where his wife was. The light was dim, but he could see her fragile frame. By her side, crying, was Ome, his daughter, young and incredibly beautiful. She had a confident look, and her facial traits were extremely seductive. But now, the only thing that was displayed was sadness. Kihei slowly walked towards Megumi, his wife, and sat by her side. Her weak hand goes to touch his, and with the little strength she has left, she tries to squeeze Kihei's. Her pale, sick face looks at him. Her thin, dried lips try to form a smile.
If I could spend eternity by your side, I would.
The voice of Oiwa echoed in Kihei's head.
Respect is something that is expected from the one you are married, and I think your wife deserves that much from you, at least until she passes.
I hope Oiwa loves you the way I do.
Kihei lowers his head. A single tear falls from his eyes.
I love you.
For a single moment, less than a second that seemed Megumi's whole life, by hearing that, she felt the happiest woman in the world. Her weak and sick smile was true and honest. Then she tried to pull air once, twice, 3 times. Her eyes rolled. Megumi was dead. Kihei felt her grip weaken, and her hand fell. Ome put her head on her mother's chest, crying deeply. Kihei stands up silently and walks out the room. Inside him was a mixture of feelings, and none of them were good. He needed fresh air. He had lost 2 women at once. Looking at the sky, trying to find an answer for such curse befalling upon him, he wanted to scream once more. And it was even more frustrating that he realized that he loved her, and it felt even more true when he said for the first time now. But his "I love you" fell into the wrong woman's ears, that now lay cold and dead. That made him hate Oiwa even more. He never said these words to any other woman before, and now, the first time he did, the woman he wanted to hear it had rejected him in the most humiliating way possible. Oiwa would pay. Kihei would make sure of that. He went to his room and sat, still, quiet, thinking, hating. Afternoon came and Oiwa was being taken care of by her Kamuro girls. They were bathing her and feeding. At that hour, the yukuku was calm, so Kohei took the chance with the other servants to tidy up the place. As requested by Takwitz, he went to his office to clean it up. It was a well enough organized room. Nothing major to do there, different from some Yujo's rooms he usually complained about working on. As he was dusting off some things, he bumped into a shelf full of notebooks and one fell open on the ground. As Kohei went to get it, he saw some names he knew. Oiwa was included. He grabbed and started reading, and then the color of his face was slowly disappearing. He saw his name there too. He almost fainted. Kohei started to shake. Later, in a nearby woods, we see Naosuke carrying a big bag on his shoulder. He looked tired, but he had a purpose. Probably today was going to be a good day. Well, he had to wait until night so what he called treasure hunt could begin. He had made some good money with his new so-called job, mainly from Yujo's with their many requests. Some would call him a grave robber. He didn't like that name. He preferred treasure hunter. He was getting tired. He needed to stop a little. Things got a little bit harder since he lost his hand on his last encounter with Yomoshi. Just remembering the samurai made his skin crawl. Naosuke would dishonor him in the vilest way possible. He would have Osode for him. He would pay to have her for several nights, and he would do as he pleased. Naosuke loved Osode from the first time he laid his eyes on her, but she was always with that animal Yomoshi. Once Naosuke was caught by the samurai trying to flirt with her, he got himself a beating that left him without being able to stand for at least a week. But revenge was what fueled him every day since. He would have Osode. He would have her body, play with it, enter her in many ways possible, many times possible, and he would plant his seed inside her. She would have his child, so every time Yomoshi looked at it, he would have his face. Naosuke sat down. Maybe he could take a nap until nightfall. He heard some new people died, which was good. He needed some fingers as requested by the usual so they could give as promise of love to their clients. Some others requested locks of hair, nails, and so on. He was hoping the person that died was rich, so he could get jewels the person was buried with. He heard footsteps approaching. Since it wasn't uncommon for bandits to transit in the area, Naosuke decided to hide behind some bushes. What he saw he couldn't believe. Maybe his eyes were playing a trick on him? No, maybe it was true. He wanted to laugh at how fate was so wonderfully strange sometimes. Walking by himself, there was Yomoshi Sato. It seemed there was a message brought from the heavens that if Naosuke needed to do something, now was the time. He looked down at the arm with no hand, and he became the definition of hatred. 1 year. 1 whole year thinking on how many ways he would love to see Yomoshichi's dead body, or how marvelous would be to hear from his death on the battlefield. Naosuke wasn't thinking anymore. One hand went for his kimono and grabbed the dagger. Ever so slowly he followed the samurai, not making any noise. He was getting closer. His heart was pounding hard, so hard he thought he was going to die. Closer now, he could smell the samurai. Naosuke jumped and stabbed the man on the back, sinking deep the blade of his dagger once. The samurai screamed in horrible pain. Naosuke pulled the blade out and went for the back of his neck and sink it again. He fell on the ground face to the dirt. Blood flowed and splattered all over the place. Naosuke turned Yomoshichi's almost lifeless body to face him. Naosuke thought that his face was a little different, but maybe it was because he had a previous memory of him from a year ago. There was no time to think. It was time for payback.
Look at me! Look at me, you bastard! Look at the face of your killer!
And Naosuke started to stab Yomoshi Sato's face over and over and over again like a maniac. The samurai almost had no face anymore. It was a bloody pulp of flesh and fluids. Finally, Naosuke stopped and sat beside the corpse. The rush in his body was starting to subside, but still his mind wasn't clear. There was only one question. What now? He heard more footsteps. More than one person. Now he got terrified. What he didn't need was to be called a murderer, even though he was. His adrenaline was at its peak again. Not even he knew where he got the strength to pull the body to a tall grass where he could hide it. Again, he rushed to some bushes and observed 2 men walking, one fat in front and another he knew well. It was Tamiya Yeamon. Yotsuya was walking in front, getting tired and worried because the afternoon was starting to give place to night.
Are you sure this is a shortcut, Yeamon?
Not much longer now.
They kept walking. Yeamon was quiet. His breathing was calm. Slowly he drew his sword. A few steps closer to Samon now, he knew what he had to do. No more of humiliations. No more of being thrown in the dirt, and more importantly, no more being a nobody. It was only 2 movements with his katana. One pierced Samon's body from the back, and the other one cut his head off.
Good riddance to you, fat pig.
Natsuki watched everything in awe, mostly because of the skills of the Ronin. Tamiya Yeamon was the deadliest man he had ever seen. It reminded him of the time when they hired 2 bandits so they could fake Samon's attack. Yeamon killed them with ease. Natsuki almost felt bad for the bastards. They were hired to die without knowing it. Again, fate had an interesting way to show its ways. And now, it seemed that everything was a blessing. He got out of the bushes and ran towards the Ronin.
Well, I have to tell you, Master Yeamon, you are a wicked one.
Yeamon looked surprised to see Natsuki smiling.
You can chop off my head. I keep coming back. What are you doing here, Natsuki?
It seems not only you were busy. I was having fun too.
Natsuki brought Yeamon to see the body hidden in the tall grass.
Who is it?
Yomoshi Sato.
Soda's fiancé? Are you sure?
Yeamon looked at the body. He couldn't identify that if the body was actually Yomoshi's, but also, the man's face was very disfigured to do so.
I think now is the time for you to repay your favor, Master Yeamon.
At the yukaku, Oiwa and Kohei are sitting in her bedroom. She's reading the notebook the boy had brought her. Her expression was hard to define. Either she was not understanding or believing what she was reading. She had to be rational, which was a very difficult feat under the circumstances. The brothel was full of clients. As night had arrived and all the workers wanted to relax and have a little fun with one of the girls, suddenly, her door bursts open and a very angry Takuetsu enters.
Have you lost your mind? How can you deny him? He had decided not to wait for his wife to die and pay for you right away.
Oiwa quietly and seriously looked at Takuetsu, still holding the notebook. She discreetly closes it and places it over her lap.
Do you have any idea the money you've made me lose? Do you?
Oiwa just stands up and starts walking out of her bedroom. She slides the door open and calmly says,
Kohei, call Osode and Madoka here and tell the clients to leave. We are closed for the night.
Kohei's eyes grew wide, and from Oiwa he looked at Takuetsu.
No, don't look at him. I am telling you to do it.
What? Have you gone crazy?
Oiwa still to Kohei.
I want you to gather all the girls here, please.
Takuetsu on the verge of madness.
Oiwa, what are you doing?
He rushed to grab her arm.
Don't touch me.
Takuetsu saw in Oiwa's eyes hatred towards him, something he never expected coming from her. It made his body shiver.
Go, Kohei, now.
Yes, Oiwa-sama.
Kohei runs out of the room. Moments later, after a lot of protests and complaints, the brothel was empty. Oiwa was standing alongside Kohei in her bedroom as the girls were arriving. All the Yujos were there. Osode had a worried look on her face. Madoka, another beautiful Yujo and friends with Oiwa, was sitting, still weak. She had a very curious face. In the center of everybody was Takuetsu. Oiwa waited until there was silence, and then she pulled out of her kimono a notebook. Takuetsu's face lost all the colors when he'd put his eyes on it. He knew well what it was. She looked at him and gave him a gentle, sarcastic smile.
I guess everyone here knew Reiko.
Oiwa's eyes went across the room to see all the girls' faces become sad as they nodded in affirmation.
She was a beautiful girl, always gentle, always polite, and from all of us, the best in poetry. And now, she's dead, violated and beaten in an alley by one of our patrons. Isn't it right, Takuetsu-san?
Takuetsu was sweating and the words just couldn't get out of his mouth. Madoka tried to stand with the help of another girl. Oiwa, what is this all about? Oiwa turned to her friend and pain took over her heart. She wanted to cry, but now was not the time. She had to be strong. Strong for Madoka, strong for Reiko, and for all the sick girls that were trying to survive.
How are you feeling, my dear?
Getting better, I guess. Oiwa, I don't understand.
You will. Tell me, Madoka-chan, how many cups of mercury they made you drink?
Oiwa, please.
What's wrong, Takuetsu-san? Do you have something to say? Or would you rather have me tell them?
Takuetsu was so white, he looked like a ghost.
Why don't you tell everybody what is in this notebook I have here?
She showed the notebook to everyone in the room.
Why don't you tell them Reiko died when she should be alive? Why don't you look at Madoka and tell her that you made her sick and killed her child in vain?
All the girls looked at the man in the center of the room. Oiwa walked towards him. Her face was a synonym of anger and fury. Finally, she couldn't hold anymore. Tears started to roll down her face.
And why don't you tell me that she would still make money out of me being used when you shouldn't have?
Osode runs close to Oiwa.
Sister, what's going on? I don't understand.
Oiwa holds up the notebook in the air and says,
This here is a book with all our names, our debts, and the costs and profits made on our work. And the amount of money Takuetsu makes on us is enough to pay our debts and set us free.
What?
Yes, my name is here with money enough to buy me 3 times over. So is yours, Osode's, and Reiko's, and the names of most of the girls that work here. And he lied to all of us, making us believe that we still owed him.
Oiwa looks at Takuetsu with complete despise.
Using us every day to fill his pockets while we get sick, abused, die, and lose ourselves.
Takuetsu, terrified, stands up and tries to run for the door, but immediately is held by 2 yujos. One of them pulls up a dagger and puts on his throat.
Bring him.
All the other girls started to yell, saying to kill him. The anger and agony in the voices of all of them made the air heavier. Some of the girls couldn't stop crying.
Please, I can explain. Please hear me out.
You have 2 options. 1, you will let all the girls go and you pay the money that now you owe each and every one of them. Or 2, you die right here, right now.
Takuetsu looked at Oiwa even more terrified.
You can't be serious. I will go bankrupt.
Oiwa looked at the yujo with the dagger.
Sadako!
Yes, Oiwa-san.
As Sadako, one of the prostitutes, was about to slit Takuetsu's throat, he yelled,
Okay, I'll do it. I'll pay everyone, but...
But what, you worm?
Sadako forced the dagger once more.
I'll have to close the brothel.
And do you actually think this brothel is still yours? You will pay what you owe and set them free, and leave this place or we will gut you.
Oiwa-san, wait. Madoka walked with difficulty to get close to the Oiran. Kayako and Maiko helped Madoka. Listen, if we lose the brothel, most of us don't have where to go. Do you think our families would take us back? We don't have your ranks, neither your privileges, Oiwa. For most, this is our home, became our home. This is how we live now, Oiwa. This is what we know about life since we were children. Oiwa holds Madoka's hand.
I know, and that's why we are not going to close the brothel. We are going to have a new owner. And only the girls who still want to stay here will keep working. And who doesn't, they are free to leave. But first, even for the girls which the names are not in here, I will say that their debts are paid and they are also free to go.
The girls smiled and all their eyes sparkled in happiness. Are you going to be in charge, Oiwa-san?
No. You are.
Wait, you can't.
Shut up.
Madoka was surprised. Me?
I can't think of a better person. Is there anyone against it?
Oiwa looked at the girls, and they looked at each other. Then back to Oiwa, still happy and smiling, and a group came and hugged Madoka.
So it is settled. Please, Madoka-san, take good care of our sisters.
Oiwa bowed to Madoka.
Oiwa-san, what about this animal here?
Sadako pulled Takuetsu's hair and he screamed in pain.
Madoka-san, if you don't mind, I would like to take Takuetsu as my slave and servant, since he owes me as well.
Madoka looked disgusted at Takuetsu's face. Are you sure? You can have him. I wouldn't stand having him around here anyway. You can take this pile of garbage from here.
Thank you, Madoka. But first, Sadako, take his clothes off. Kayako, grab the makeup.
Osode interrupts Oiwa.
One moment, sister, please.
Then, Osode walks to Takuetsu and slaps him on the face.
And you didn't stop me when I said I would take clients.
Oiwa looks surprised at Osode.
Take clients? What?
Osode blushed.
I will explain later.
Oiwa looked at Osode frowning, and then to the two other Yujos.
Sadako, Kayako, let's make him a pretty geisha.
Well, pretty is going to be hard.
Sadako started to strip him, and Kayako grabbed the makeup kit. Takuetsu begged, and all the girls started laughing. A few moments later, Takuetsu was thrown out, naked, on the streets, wearing a geisha-style makeup. His face was on the ground. People started to gather around to see that well-known man's honor being destroyed.
It's your chance of an Oiran dojo, princess. Bring clients to us, okay? And don't take long. I wouldn't want to waste my time sending men to hunt you.
Takuetsu, scared and shaking, nodded.
Yes, Oiwa dono.
Good. Now go, princess. You have work to do. And be gracious, okay?
While the streets were getting attracted by Takuetsu's new look, two men appeared among the crowd. They could barely stand. They were bruised and bleeding. It seemed too difficult, but they were running and screaming something that later on could be understood.
Oiwa!
Oiwa knew well that voice. It was Yeamon's. She looked to the direction to see the Ronin being helped by an also very hurt Naosuke. Yeamon had blood on his face and clothes. That made her run towards them. Osode follows Oiwa, also worried.
Yeamon? What happened?
I'm sorry, Oiwa. I failed you. They were too many.
Wait. Don't talk. Come inside. Let's take care of you first.
No, Oiwa, your father.
We tried. We actually had help.
Naosuke looked at Osode and said,
Yugmoshichi was there. He fought bravely until the end.
Osode was shocked to hear her fiancé's name.
What? What are you saying?
Yeamon fell on the ground.
Kohei, help!
Some of the girls of the Yukaku appeared. Kohei ran towards them on the street.
Take them inside and call Dr. Ito. Hurry!
Yeamon said in a weak voice.
I'm sorry, Oiwa. I am so sorry.
Then he looked at Osode.
I am sorry, Lady Osode. I tried to help Yomoshichi. He was a brave man.
What? What?
Her voice failed and she took a few steps back. Tears started to roll down her face. Oiwa held Yeamon in her arms and helped him get up with Kohei.
Don't talk.
As they were taking Yeamon inside, Osode got close to Naosuke, grabbing him by his clothes, trying not to cry.
Please, tell me it's not true. Tell me Yomoshichi is fine. Tell me.
Naosuke looks at her. His expression is nothing but sadness.
I am sorry.
Moments later, inside the brothel, Oiwa was talking to Madoka. The movement inside was intense with some girls. The yukaku was only going to reopen the next day. Oiwa-san, I asked some girls to prepare something for them to eat. The doctor is already taking a look at them, and we also are going to prepare a bath and take care of their wounds.
Thank you, Madoka-san.
Madoka noticed the sad expression on Oyua's face. They had to take Osode to her room as she wouldn't stop crying and call Yomoshichi's name. She held Oyua's hand and looked into her eyes. Tell me, sister, what can I do for you? Oiwa gave a faint smile.
You are already doing so much, sister. But I will ask you if I can borrow Toguro and Shimchiki, the bodyguards, for a moment. I need to retrieve Yomochichi's and my father's bodies. And also, I would like you to keep an eye on Osode for me, please.
Don't worry, you can have them. We will be fine. And as for your sister, no need to ask. I am on my way to her bedroom so I can keep her company.
Thank you very much.
Oiwa then walked to the room where Yeamon was staying, which was her own room. After seeing her, he tried to sit but couldn't. Oiwa hurried to him and told him to be quiet and not to move. Again, he apologized, saying he did his best to protect Yotsuya Samon from a group of bandits that suddenly appeared and surrounded them. If it wasn't for Naosuke and Yomoshichi, he would probably be dead. The fight with the bandits had cost Samon's and Yomoshichi's lives, and he said he was ashamed of himself, that he'd rather die than to look at Oyua's face and let her see that he was a failure. Oiwa kissed him and told him that she would never think of such a thing of him. Then she asked where was her father's body so she could get him back to bury him.
No, Oiwa, it's too dangerous. Let me go with you. It is the least I can do. And besides, you don't want to see.
I will go. You stay here. Just tell me where he is.
Oiwa had such a firm look in her eyes that made the Ronin uncomfortable. It was almost the eyes of something unnatural. He had never seen Oiwa like this. Well, he never seen Oiwa go through such deep emotions such as the loss of her father before, so...
In the woods, near the town's entrance. His body is near a rock with a small tree beside it.
Without saying a word, Oiwa stood up and left her room. The night had no moon and very few stars in the dark sky. More clouds would adorn above the trees in the woods as Oiwa was walking with the bodyguards and Koki by her side. It felt empty, cold, and sad. No sounds of crickets or any other night animals. Only a light blow of the wind that would ruffle the leaves a little, and that was it. The grass was not the only thing being caressed by the wind. A piece of fabric was moving gently among the tall grass as if it was signaling for Oiwa to see. Her heart sank, and she hurried close to it. In a depressing and sad contrast, there it was, motionless, the body of a man facing down. As powerful as a sledgehammer, sadness struck the Oiran. She got on one knee and gently touched the back of the dead body.
Yomoshichi.
She slowly stood up, looking around her, and then she saw the rock Yeamon had told her. The other man came and put the samurai's body in the cart. Oiwa's steps made a gentle sound, being accompanied by the sound of the leaves on the tree near the rock. Still looking, her heart was pounding, and the memories of her last encounter with her father were flooding her mind.
You are a dirty little despicable man. You are always so disgraceful. Mom died because of you.
Those were the last words she had exchanged with him. The Oiran was already lost in tears, and her thoughts were a mess. So much hate and sadness. Maybe there was something she could try to understand on his side. Maybe things should have been different. It was too late now. Any chance for something else was gone. Oiwa didn't hate someone, never did. She was always hurt that the man had chose to sell his daughters instead of trying to find a way to pay his debts. Deep inside, she knew she would rather have her and her sister working without sleep or food to help him than to become a prostitute. At least, they would be a family. They would be together in the honor of her mother. Oiwa cried while searching, her vision getting blurred by her tears. She tripped on something and fell, sitting on the grass. And then she saw someone's head, eyes rolled up, mouth relaxed and open, wearing the distinct mask death put on the face of those who no longer breathe. Trembling and shaking, she went for the head. Her fingers touched its cold skin. Desperately inside her head, she was screaming and begging this was a nightmare, that she was ready to wake up. Slowly and gently, Oiwa grabbed someone's head and held close to her chest as a mother would do to a baby. She screamed, bursting in more tears, echoing all the sadness and pain her heart couldn't hold anymore. Oiwa rocked back and forth, holding the head tight close to her.